This is Rye House Kart Raceway. Located just north of London, it's one of the country's leading venues for karting. It has a long history and has witnessed the development of talent like British touring car champion Ash Sutton and Formula One world champions Jenson Button and Lewis Hamilton. And today it welcomes a group of young drivers who may well become stars of the future. The Bambino Festival is the first major karting event of the season and features a class of racing that provides the first step on the motorsport ladder, accessible for 5 to 8-year-old drivers, and will feature two categories, Bambino IAME and Bambino Coma.
We have two different power engines. We have the Coma powered and we have the IAME Italian engines as well. So in terms of pace differential, you're probably talking about 3 to 4 seconds in terms of pure lap pace, but also the action is still quite competitive because it's a standardised chassis. They may go with different manufacturers, but standardised tyres, spec regulation, fuel, that kind of thing as well, to even the playing field for everybody. So it's about the driver's skill.
There's a full day of action ahead for the drivers. The organisers also try to make the experience as entertaining and enjoyable as possible, with special features throughout the day, like a children's scooter race and a spectacular display from the Pro Drift Academy. The drivers are still in their first few years of primary school, and it will be another decade before they're old enough to drive on the roads. So how important is it for them to start competing at such a young age?
What these kids can achieve at 6 years of age, it blows my mind. I'm a massive motorsport fan, follow everything. To see kids out there 40, 45 mile an hour racing around the track, and they are in total control. There's no guesswork out there. It blows my mind. Incredible. You know, I urge people, come and watch these kids race. At 6 years of age, you think they can't do it, but they can. Very impressive.
Some really quick kids. Beautiful to watch them. You know, they're babies. They're really, really little, but they're so professional. Some of them, the way they drive. They've obviously had a lot of time sat in the seat, but just amazing to watch them. This really is. It's very special.
You look at the way they kind of develop and the relationship that they build with other kids. It's great for their confidence. You know, I notice in my own son how confident a child he is right now. And the kids, you know, they want it. You know, they get what they need to do. They've learned a lot, and it just comes together in a really nice way.
The first competitive session of the festival for the IAME class was qualifying, where number 6 Joe Lewis set the fastest time on the very last lap. His time of 54.9 seconds on a wet track gave him pole position for the first race heat, which he duly won. Second place going to fellow front row starter Conor Scarisbrick. Despite struggling in qualifying, where he was only 9th quickest, Riley Cranham was always likely to be a contender for the festival title. Carrying the GP plate as winner of last year's British Kartmasters title, he rocketed from 8th on the grid to win Heat 2 by a massive 12-second margin. A problem meant that Heat 1 winner Joe Lewis wasn't even able to make the start of Heat 2, but he bounced back to win the third and final heat from 5th on the grid. However, with the combined results from all 3 heats setting the grid for the final, the consistency of Conor Scarisbrick was rewarded. His trio of second-place finishes resulting in pole position, while Lewis and Cranham would start 2nd and 3rd respectively. Having only made his race debut at the London Cup 4 months prior to the festival, Riley Wright came here as one of the least experienced drivers on the grid. Despite this, 2 strong heat results had seen him qualifying 8th on the grid for the final. Riley talked to us about some of the different racing lines he's been picking up.
On a small bend, I cut the corner, but on the big bend, I don't really cut a corner. Just before the straight, I just go wide, and then for one lap, it makes me go faster.
So, with a few months' experience to reflect upon, how easy is it to get involved in the sport?
Buying the kart, getting the kart is the easy part. It's learning the setup of the kart, especially with Riley, took a bit of time getting used to these lines. Once they get it, it's good. But yeah, it's simple enough to get into. it's not so simple to maintain running at the front.
What if you want to get involved with the sport but don't have the confidence or time to mechanic and develop your own kart? Well, that's where professional teams like the Kart Tech outfit, which is running Riley this weekend, come in.
We do everything from one-to-one driver tuition to running the kart for them, bringing it to and from the track. We can do a whole package, so if they want just help, we can do that, and if they want a kart provided, we can do that also.
Another relative newcomer to impress at Rye House has been Jacob Ashcroft. At the end of his first full season of racing, he finished 6th at the London Cup here, a highly competitive annual event that attracts some of the best drivers from around the UK.
We stumbled across a Bambino display once at Alton Park Racetrack. Jacob was only 5, so we jumped at the chance to get in karting, and we've been doing it sort of a year and a half now. This is our 2nd time here for the Bambino Festival and our 4th time here racing at Rye House, and yeah, we love it here.
And in addition to being a mechanic, like many parents here, Barry's also on hand to help develop those driving skills.
My dad's helping me to learn some lines around the track so I can get faster and faster every session.
And so to the first of our 2 finals here at the Bambino Festival as the IAME karts line up. Connor Scarisbrick and Joe Lewis share the front row, with Riley Cranham and Cole Glover just behind, while Henry Domain and George Davison complete the top 6. All eyes fixed on the start lights on board with 88. Logan Howes 14th on the grid as the race gets underway. Teddy Woodard just ahead in the 31 card as they go under the gantry, and there a good start from 23. James Roberts up front though. The pole sitter Connor Scarisbrick in the lead from Joe Lewis. Back on board with Logan Howes 23. James Robertson 79. Riley Wright just ahead in front of them all with the rear-facing camera. This is Jacob Ashcroft who's coming under attack now from Roberts, but Roberts can't find a way through into the hairpins for the first time. The race leaders come through. Jacob Ashcroft with a lovely move there down the inside of 83. Ethan Woodward into the first of those hairpins. That 4th place we got 44 George Davison, so the GP plate Riley Cranham has dropped from 3rd down to 5th place, and then just behind him in 6th position Henry Domain with 99 Jack Fowler there in 7th place. Now we're going to get a replay into that first hairpin on board with Logan Howes. Ahead in the blue racer you can see Jacob Ashcroft making his move, and then 29 slides down the inside. Mason Thurlow, he delays Logan Howes, and 36 Max Haller, he's able to get through on the exit. Onto lap 2, and Connor Scarisbrick has got company. Joe Lewis, number 6, could barely be closer, and he sweeps alongside on the way out of the corner, but Lewis, number 6, can't quite get the momentum. So it's Scarisbrick 28 from Lewis, number 6. 3rd place, still Cole Glover, number 78. 4th, number 44, George Davison, as they make their way down towards pylon. Another look, but around the outside this time for Joe Lewis. So Connor Scarisbrick, a very good job here, but it's going to be a long race if Joe Lewis keeps putting all this pressure on him. He gets alongside again, over the curbs for the race leader, and he has a think about it down the inside. Fantastic racing, there was no contact there, and a very good effort from Joe Lewis, but he's still 2nd, and he's got to be careful, because right behind him, 44 George Davison, while all that was going on, has got himself to 3rd place, and he's very close to the tail of him. So there come the leaders, making their way out now through Reggie's elbow, down towards the hairpin section. Joe Lewis having to look around the outside because the inside line is covered. Behind them, the new 3rd place kart of George Davison. Again, Scarisbrick knows he's got the inside line for the outfield hairpin, but he runs out wide now, and Joe Lewis gets the lead of the race. So all the pressure paid off. Number 6, Lewis, into 1st place. Scarisbrick down to 2nd. Then it is George Davison rounding out the podium in the early stages. Just behind then, in 4th place now, you've got the GP plate of Riley Cranham. So he's gained a place back as well. Remember, he started, he qualified 3rd on the grid, and they're all still relatively close together. That said, Joe Lewis, now that he's got the lead of the race, has had a very good 2nd half to the lap there and pulled away by a few lengths. The battle for 3rd might be the one to watch here, coming out of Stadium and towards the hairpin section. Look at the GP plate, reeling in the 44 card of George Davison. George has got his eyes forward, trying to get himself 2nd place, but he leaves the door open. He doesn't defend the corner, and through comes Cranham, and also picking off the place here is going to be number 78, Cole Glover, who sneaks back into 4th place. So 2 positions lost then for the 44 car, down out of the top 3, down to 5th place. for George Davison. He's got right behind him as well Henry Domain and a group of 3 other karts breathing down his neck. So terrific battling here at the head of the field in this Bambino IAME final. We're going to replay now. Look how late he was on the brakes, Riley Cranham. Got halfway alongside. No choice but to go out wide on the exit for George Davison. Then he loses another place. Back to the leaders, and Joe Lewis has been reeled in, and it's a repeat move from Riley Cranham. This time he's got the job done before he gets to the apex, and that's second now. So Connor Scarisbrick down to 3rd place in the 28 Cup, the former race leader, the pole sitter, and then a gap developing back to 4th place, George Davison. And in the background, number 99, Jack Fowler's got himself up to 6th, ahead of Henry Domain. Then it's 79, Riley Wright, and 22, Jacob Ashcroft at the back of this group in 9th position. There is the rear-facing camera on Jacob as he makes his way through this sweeping S-bend section, and Paddock Bend at the end of the lap onto the start and finish straight. A big gap back then to this next group. In 10th place, 23, James Roberts, ahead of number 31, Teddy Woodard. You've got 66, Danny Bonham. 29, Mason Thurlow at the back of that group, so it's 10th, 11th, 12th and 13th all running together. Making their way down towards the hairpins, the leaders. Number 6, Joe Lewis, under all sorts of pressure here from Riley Cranham, and he goes wide on the exit. Cranham goes through. We've got a new race leader, our 3rd different leader of the race. And having started 3rd, dropped to 5th on the first lap. Riley Cranham, the GP plate, now leads. Joe Lewis, for now, down to 2nd place. 3rd, still with them, Connor Scarisbrick rounding out the podium positions, and the more they battle, the more they allow the 4th, 5th, 6th place battle to close up to them. Joe Lewis has got no intention of finishing 2nd in this race. He's already starting to try and put the pressure on the race leader. He goes a bit wide over the curves on the exit. Lewis gets a better run, closes the gap back down to about a kart length, and he's good on the brakes as well into Stadium Bend. He's taking Connor Scarisbrick with him. So having done all the attacking in the race so far, it's now up to Riley Cranham to try and defend the lead of the race here. Joe Lewis, look, he's winding it up on the way into the hairpin, looking down the inside, and he goes through, and he goes wide, very wide on the exit. It was a glorious moment, but it was just a moment. So down to 2nd place, almost immediately is Joe Lewis. He'll be careful not to allow Scarisbrick to get past him as well. And Riley Cranham has started to scamper away. Now, while all that was going on the way into Stadium Bend, this was a lovely move from Jacob Ashcroft, firing his way around the outside of Riley Wright for 8th place. And into the closing stages, we've now got Teddy Woodard, number 31, ahead of James Roberts for 10th place. Those 4 karts still running together in the midfield. A lap and a half to go, though, for Riley Cranham and Joe Lewis, who has closed the gap right back up to the race leader. Scarisbrick still with them. And then coming through the traffic, the 4th, 5th, 6th place battle, which still has at the head of it 78, Cole Glover. 44, George Davison in 5th. Lapping the 77 car to Bethany Freeman, you've then got number 3, Henry Domain, and 99, Jack Fowler, who are battling at the moment over 6th place. There's still 1 or 2 damp patches offline, but it's pretty much a dry track now after a wet start to the day, and the times are getting quicker and quicker as the race goes on. And there we see the race leader starting the final lap of the race, and look at this challenge for 4th place coming from George Davison. A big look up the inside there of Cole Glover, but Cole in the 78 car fends him off. For now, it's going to be a long lap for him, though, to try and defend. What about the top 3? Into the hairpin section for the final time. It's Riley Cranham still from Joe Lewis. Connor Scarisbrick 3rd. Lewis has a look at the inside into the 2nd hairpin, but thinks better of it. He's still a bit too far back, half a length or so. He gets closer on the exit. It's looking a tiny bit scrappy now from Riley Cranham. Understandably, he's digging in, he's defending here, and he just can't afford to leave a gap because Lewis will be in. He's putting all sorts of pressure on. There's only really one more chance into the final corner. Cranham can almost see the checkered flag. Now he's a tiny bit wide on the exit. Lewis does close the gap, but it's Riley Cranham who wins. It's confirmation of the results, with Riley Cranham taking the win by just 1/10 of a second from Joe Lewis. A close 3rd and setting the fastest lap of the race, Connor Scarisbrick, while Cole Glover, George Davison and Jack Fowler complete the top 6. Here's some quick reaction from our podium finishers.
I came 1st and I won, and happy. I just tried my hardest. Yeah, happy. I think I did really well. There was a lot of other good drivers. I think I could have come 2nd or 1st, but I gave my best.
With some of the best facilities of any kart racing circuit in the UK and a wide range of race events throughout the year, Rye House attracts drivers from all over the country and sometimes even further afield. For example, Livio Caira and his father Silvano have made the trip from Belgium to be here, hiring a race cart with the help of Rye House. We've come over to England this weekend for Livio's first race in karting. Because in Belgium, you can't start kart racing until the age of 7, and here in England, you can start at the age of 5. So it's great that we can come here to train before he starts racing in 2 years' time in Belgium. I've been racing karts for 1 year. I really like that you can go so quickly, and I found that everyone here is very fast. With this being an entry level into the sport, the Bambino Coma class features a number of newcomers, or novice drivers, identifiable by their black and white number plates. Amongst them is number 18, Joshua Mills, who is actually making his race debut here this weekend, while Father Tom, an experienced racing driver himself, has been busy preparing the kart.
I never karted when I was a child, so a fair bit of experience in the cars, but nothing with karting, so I've had to learn quite a bit. But they are very simple. They're designed to be able to be run by their dad, about as simple as it comes. So while it's running, I'm fine.
And as for Joshua, well, he's clearly enjoying the experience.
Really good. Just having fun, really.
He gets out the go-kart with a big grin on his face every single time. He's obviously growing in confidence, and yeah, he's still smiling. That makes me happy.
In the morning's wet qualifying session, number 46, Oscar O'Sullivan, recorded the fastest time, an impressive 0.6 of a second quicker than anyone else. He continued this form throughout the day, winning all 3 of his race heats to qualify on pole for the final. And his outstanding performances so far at the festival were no fluke, rather the result of a lot of hard work and practice.
To do well, you've got to put a lot of time in. So he's out in the go-kart like 4 or 5 times a week, every week. And he's been doing that for the last year. And that's probably why he's done really well, because he's out all the time. It's all about seat time, really, and just getting a good engine, and you're halfway there, you know.
O'Sullivan's closest rival in the heats was number 11, Fraser Anderson. He finished second in all 3 heats, but closed the gap on each occasion, finishing just 0.7 of a second adrift in the final qualifier. Also running well was Henry Pigeon Moffat. 2 third-place finishes and a 4th, enough to put him 3rd on the grid for the final.
Quite tricky going around the corners in wet, but I'm doing all right, so it's okay. I'm hoping for first because I really want to come first and just win.
So, what advice for anybody just starting out in the sport?
You know, I think initially when you're getting into it, you're going into it blind. So it's always good to kind of get a lot of advice. I went in and made a lot of mistakes, a lot of expensive mistakes. But you kind of, coming down, hanging out with the car tracks, meeting a lot of the dads before you actually kind of commit to getting into it, you can certainly pick up a lot of tips and a lot of advice.
It's time then to look at the Bambino Coma final, where Oscar O'Sullivan and Fraser Anderson share the front row, and Henry Pigeon Moffat and Jamal Adams start 3rd and 4th. Meanwhile, Fletcher Jamieson and Archie Beard complete the top 6. The Coma final about to get underway here at the Bambino Festival as 46 Oscar O'Sullivan from pole position leads them away. Number 11 Fraser Anderson, he's there in 2nd place. It's a rocket ship start for Archie Beard, number 10, who's got his nose into 3rd place from the 3rd row of the grid as they make their way out through turn 1, out towards the hairpins for the first time. The race leader, actually it's Henry Pigeon Moffat, number 44, who's got to that 3rd place. And down to 4th, but still 2 places up, is the number 10 of Archie Beard, and a spin for number 1, Max Nesbadva, I'm afraid. But quickly, Max gathers it back up. 77, Marlon Madison also delayed when he had to take evasive action. And look at this, 3 abreast in the battle for 5th place. And it's number 19, Kit Bolowski, who gets there first. Terrific move to gain 2 places. There just behind in 6th is now number 14, Jamal Adam, and down to 7th, despite a very good start off the line, number 10, Archie Beard. Here's a replay of that spin for Max Nesbadva, and it's oh so easy to get it wrong into those hairpins. They're very tricky indeed. Having been the dominant force in the heats, Oscar O'Sullivan continues to impress in the final. He was 1.2 seconds clear at the end of the first lap of the race, but the driver on a charge is number 19, Kit Belowski, from 8th on the grid. There he is up in the 5th position, the bright orange helmet, number 19, closing up to the tail of 99, Fletcher Jamieson. Then just in front of the pair of them, third at the moment, number 44, Henry Pigeon Moffat, who had to battle off Archie Beard through the first couple of turns to make sure he held on to third position. And a little bit further back, two novices battling over 10th position, 22, Ali Findlater in the top 10 at the moment. Just behind her though, number 77, Milo Manderson. Just about halfway into this race, and suddenly there's a real battle on for second place. 11, Fraser Anderson has been caught by 99, Fletcher Jamieson, who's made his way past Henry Pigeon Moffat. Henry is around about a second behind them in the 44 car. Kit Belowski has been falling away and looks a little bit slow coming out of the infield hairpin, so worry over that kart. Oscar O'Sullivan, 46, continues to lead. He's miles in front now. O'Sullivan has actually just set a new fastest lap of the race with a 51.9. These two lapping in the high 52s, so it's a very impressive performance. And there is Kit Belowski. His car, I thought it was going slowly coming out of the hairpins, and it's died on him, so I'm afraid after a very good run in the first half of the race, Kit is headed for retirement. Fraser Anderson coming up then to lap number 7, Livio Caira, the Belgian driver who gets it wrong coming out of the hairpin, and slamming into him is the second place car. He's going to lose his place, and there's more contact further back as they all concertina up into one another. At 44, Henry Pigeon Moffat went up into the air, and look at this, he now goes side by side and gets his nose in front of Fraser Anderson. So already through is Fletcher Jamieson, number 99. He's gone to second. Up to third goes Henry Pigeon Moffat, and losing 2 places and all of that, the very unfortunate Fraser Anderson. He didn't do anything wrong really, he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Very frustrating for him. Livio Caira, the Belgian driver, now being lapped by the new second place car, Fletcher Jamieson, who senses an opportunity to finish second here at the Bambino Festival. He's head down, he tries to pull away. Seemingly unstoppable though, our race leader Oscar O'Sullivan. There he is on the final lap of the race now. He's over 10 seconds clear. Like he's on a pair of rails. Tremendous drive from the youngster. More traffic to deal with though for number 99, Fletcher Jamieson in second place. And look, number 44, Henry Pigeon Moffat gets his nose in front as they lap the number 1 kart of Nes Vadpa. Who's going to get to the hairpin first through the outfield hairpin? It is Pigeon Moffat, but he goes wide on the exit, and Fletcher Jamieson snatches the place back. Tremendous exchange between the pair of them there. But it was Fletcher Jamieson who kept cool, kept his nose in front, and he's going to finish second. But your winner of the Bambino Festival in the Coma class is Oscar O'Sullivan. He's the hands-down winner. It's going to be close for second, but Fletcher Jamieson just hangs on. And here's a look at the final results. An impressive victory for Oscar O'Sullivan, with Fletcher Jamieson coming from the 3rd row of the grid to finish second, and Henry Pigeon Moffat completing the podium. Jamal Adam, Archie Beard and Sergio Wirtz 4th, 5th and 6th.
I worked my way up from 5th place to 2nd, and I didn't let the 2nd place guy go in front of me. I feel proud, I feel good about myself. I put the time in to do it, and it worked.
And that concludes our coverage from the Bambino Festival here at the Rye House Kart Raceway. A glimpse of some potential motor racing stars of the future. Thanks for watching.